I'm really happy to be today with Jannik Laursen. Thank you so much, Jannik.
Thank you. I'm very happy. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. We've had some hectic months moving internationally and such.
Yeah.
And this is actually the first interview we've done in a while. So this is fun because you're actually seeing us in the middle of moving, a little bit the chaos of everything. So you're getting a fun behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's really good. I'm enjoying it. Thank you. So let's see. You've created with your family, develop your elements.
Yes.
Please tell us more. What is the goal of develop your element and how did it come to be this?
Okay, what is the goal? Well, develop your element is many things, and I think for everyone it's kind of different what they really ultimately will get out of it. But the goal for Develop Your Element is to help people find themselves, nurture their basic needs, and design a life where they don't get so burned out and stressed all the time. Because one thing that happens is society is good at suppressing us, judging us, limiting us, or setting us in very rigid paths that are unsustainable, at least unsustainable in the sense that if we stay on these paths and they're not optimal for us, it can lead to burnout, it can lead to anxiety, it can lead to unnecessary stress and emotional, physical, mental challenges because sometimes we stop paying attention to our own needs when we are living in a way where we are just trying to fit in or just trying to avoid judgments.
Definitely.
And it can be exhausting. So I think if there's one overarching goal with Develop Your Element, it's to help people realize that within themselves, they have certain instincts and they can be judged sometimes. They can be criticized sometimes. And that's okay. That doesn't define you as a person. And one of the things we look at in Develop Your Element, we use personality psychology, but not to limit anyone, not to give anyone a profile, not to tell you this is who you are and you're screwed. No, we use it more as a way of understanding what are our basic needs. Individually, what do we all need to feel better? Like an extrovert will need more socialization, more variability in their lives, more changes to feel better. An introvert will need more alone time, more structure, more mental peace to feel better. And that's okay. And you can be a mix of an extrovert and an introvert. You can be an ambivert. Like we're all a mix of different personalities and different moments and different contexts. Yeah. We operate in different ways. We're not just one thing. Our personality or mix of personalities really can help us design a life that actually works for us. Because when we don't know where to start, we either start copying other people or we follow blindly advice that might not be tailored to us. I don't know about you, but in the past, I have read self-help guides, entrepreneurship books, watched videos on YouTube on how to do things in life where I had the thought of, oh, if this worked for that person, it should work for me. And maybe that person needed something different than me.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why personality psychology can help us try to tailor things a little more for our needs. So we can take advice from others, we can take feedback from others, we can learn from others. But if we can tailor things a little bit more and be mindful of our basic needs and be mindful of how our body and mind will react to certain environments and certain activities, then we can design our lives in such a way that we don't burn out too much and where we can recover from stressful situations easier. So we talk a lot about burnout prevention and we talk about burnout recovery by designing lives that recharge us. So we talk about how we have a mental battery, an emotional battery, a social battery, and a physical battery.
Okay.
That if we can find the ideal level of socialization, we can find the ideal level of physical movement, we can find the right sources of information to nurture our mind, we can develop healthier, more positive relationships. If we can do a series of things to create a space that makes us feel better, then we'll be better. And not only will we be better off, we will be kinder to others, we will be more generous to others. And one of the things that happens for people is they are afraid of rejection. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid of all these things that can go wrong. But when is it that things go most wrong? When we're burned out, when we're stressed, when we can't concentrate, and when we have reached our limits.
Yeah.
Think of most of the conflicts you've had with people in your life. In those moments, it's very common to be in a state of some type of burnout or some type of excessive stress and not think clearly and not be really present, like just reacting in the moment with emotions that might not be under control or might not be directed towards the future that's really desired or best for everyone. So one of the ways we can do that is if we can prevent burnout a little bit, we can make people feel a little bit better. And we can be mindful of bringing out the best in ourselves, but also bringing out the best in others and creating a space that's also inclusive for others, comfortable for others. Then we're going to have less drama in our lives. We're going to have less problems in a day-to-day, because if everyone feels a bit better and everyone is considered a little bit, then we all can just be comfortable and be ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Be ourselves, right?
Be ourselves. And it's not offensive to be ourselves, but many people think it's offensive to be ourselves. Because sometimes when we are ourselves and we are drained, we are not the nicest to others. We don't support others enough because we're so desperate to find our ideal space or our relief or our recharge station. Like we're so desperately looking for something that we can be dismissive of other people's needs and processes.
Okay, yeah.
But if we're recharged, then we have way more patience for other people. We can suddenly something that might be outside of our comfort zone becomes an absolute pleasure. An introvert that's recharged can go to Comic-Con and have a great time, can go to all these expos and big events, personal development events, whatever is in their interest. And they can socialize and they can have a good time. An extrovert that is in a good place can have a good time in something that's more relaxed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And how can we recharge, or a tip that you give people? Because if you're burned out or we think we're too tired or don't have energy or I don't know, stamina. Yeah.
In Develop Beyond Me, we talk about 3 ways of recharging. So we talk about we call it regeneration. And in particular, we want to create what I call regenerative spaces. Through our actions, through our environments, through our choices, we want to create regenerative spaces so that we're constantly getting a source of energy. Because if we don't, then we're always spending our energy but not topping it back up. So it's like your phone. Your phone has a battery.
Exactly.
But eventually it needs to be plugged into the wall to recharge. We have to do that mentally, emotionally, socially, and physically. So there are 4 batteries. But in terms of the way to recharge them, we talk about 3 ways. So 1, there's active regeneration. Active regeneration is the most effective, but not always the most practical. So active regeneration is go out and do what gives you the most energy, based on your context, your desires, your needs. And it's the most straightforward one. So let's say you're an extrovert and maybe going to the bar or going to a friend's house or going to a party or going and increasing stimuli, particularly social stimuli. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what will give you that regeneration. Or maybe it's going and having pizza or tacos or something in a new place in town, just changing it up. Maybe that's going to give you energy. Every person is different and we want to tailor it. Nothing is one size fits all in Develop Beyond Me. However, it's just a matter of go do that activity that will right now give you energy. And it can be many things. It can be playing video games. It can be putting on a movie on Netflix. It can be anything. But it's that activity that gives you the most energy and just makes you feel better in the moment. That immediate relief. But let's be honest, we don't always have the luxury of being able to do that one thing. And it's not just one thing, but let's say consciously, I would like to do this to feel better. That's why there's so many people that are living for the weekend or living for the next holidays and counting the days for when they can do that one thing. So we want to diversify it and do many different things to make us feel better. But active regeneration in its true essence is find the activities that make you feel better. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as it sounds. Now, the next 2 are maybe a little less simple because it requires you taking ownership of your day-to-day and thinking ahead, not just reacting. Because many people, they are reactive in their lives. When shit hits the fan, they react. Mm-hmm. When things start collapsing, they react. But they don't maybe plan ahead. Right. But with a little bit of planning ahead and a little bit of thinking about the future and a little bit of trying to evaluate your needs before you're feeling like shit will go a long way. So the next one is passive regeneration. Passive regeneration is how do you design and choose your spaces in such a way that just being in the space, you feel better. So if you don't have the luxury to go to a party to feel better, or to go home and lock yourself in the bedroom to feel better, or whatever it is that floats your boat, if you know you spend a certain amount of time in certain spaces, how can you optimize those spaces?
Okay.
So think about your life. What are the places you spend the most time in? In your case, where do you spend the most amount of time? Work. Okay. So within your workspace, do you have like a desk? Do you have like a work area?
Yeah, a desk.
Okay.
Computer.
So what we like to do with passive regeneration is identify the spaces where you spend the most time. It can be exactly work. It can be at home. It can be in the bedroom. It can be in the living room. Whatever the spaces you spend the most time in, even your car.
Okay.
And optimize them. What can you add, change, remove, or modify, or adjust to make that space more comfortable? Okay. It might be changing the chair you are sitting on, because if you have a bad chair in the office, it's hard to concentrate.
Yeah, of course.
It can be changing the mouse or the monitor. It can be changing the coat of paint on the wall or bringing in decorations. You can add or remove or modify certain things to make the space much more enjoyable. It can be the temperature of the lights. Some people like yellow lights. Some people like white lights. Some people like colored lights. The temperature within the space. Maybe you need a fan. Maybe you need an air conditioner. Maybe you need a heater. Maybe you just need a blanket. But if you take the time to really think about what would make this space more comfortable for me, more enjoyable for me, help me not need to run away from this space, but really feel at home or feel at peace in this space, then you can start little by little making adjustments so that that space doesn't stress you out. Because an office space that's not well designed, you're going to be counting the minutes to get off of work and get home to a comfortable bed or to a comfortable couch or whatever. But if you actually design that space to be more comfortable, then you're not going to be counting the minutes to get away from that space.
Mm-hmm.
So passive regeneration is really a lot about organizing spaces, interior design, picking out the right furniture or moving the furniture. For example, in the pandemic, a lot of people spend a lot of time at home in quarantine, right? Well, maybe it's time for a fresh coat of paint on the wall. Maybe it's time to move the couch to the other side of the room. Maybe it's just time to pick a different couch. But taking the time to optimize the spaces can make a big difference in your general well-being. So that's passive regeneration.
Okay.
And finally, we do also understand that you don't always have the pleasure of going and actively recharging, and you don't always have full control of your spaces. Like in your office, I'm imagining that there are certain things that you can change.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it would be a little weird for you to change the color on the walls.
Exactly.
I don't know how your boss would react to that, but there are some things that maybe it's not maybe the most practical choice, right? And we recognize that. And then what we talk about in proactive regeneration is, what if you can plan ahead to be able to regenerate anywhere you go, independently of what the environment is around you?
Okay.
So that might be dressing a certain way might make you feel better.
Yeah.
For you, does it make you feel better if you're wearing, let's say, tennis shoes or maybe heels or a dress? Or
Exactly.
Is there something that makes you feel better?
Exactly. I would be much more comfortable with like tennis shoes instead of with heels all day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a way that maybe you can implement tennis shoes more often in how you dress?
Definitely.
So sometimes it's simple things like that of like, what things can I do that I bring with me? What things can I plan ahead for? Okay. So it can be to some degree, how do you pack your backpack? In your backpack, what do you have in your backpack?
It's always too heavy.
Okay. Maybe it's time to lighten it up a little bit. But taking the time to just plan ahead, if you realize in your life that wherever you go, there's always a certain amount of friction related to something. What can ground you in that moment? What can make you feel better in that moment?
Just feeling more at ease, but...
Is there something, when you're feeling a little stressed, do you grab your phone?
Probably, yes.
Probably.
I'm always grabbing my phone.
Do you maybe sometimes put on headphones?
Exactly. Maybe I like some music. Maybe some like soothing music.
Exactly. So proactive regeneration is just being ready to ground yourself and recharge no matter the conditions around you. So let's say you're in an airport and it's chaotic And you want to get to your final destination. You don't want to run home to your room or run to a party to feel better. You're like, I actually want to get to my destination. The environment, I can't redecorate. I can't tell everyone to shut up. What can I do? Well, maybe having some headphones with you. Maybe having a phone with you, which are common things that most people have. Maybe it's a little fidget spinner. Maybe it's just having a sweater that is very comfortable that you can caress. Something that just grounds you, recharges you, makes you feel comfortable in the moment. So proactive regeneration is just realizing, okay, I might be going into a more stressful situation where I'm not in control of the things I would like to be in control of. What can I bring with me? Maybe it's having a toolkit with you. For me, I like wherever I go where I think there might be a risk of that. I like making sure I have a computer, a phone, maybe a camera, having certain tools that no matter what's going on around me, I can continue with the things that make me feel better. And for me, I love my work and what I do. So maybe that can help me feel better in that. It's really simple things. Nothing of what we explore in Develop Your Element is gonna make you have to go through something overly complicated. Okay. I mean, sure, there might be internal battles of like facing fears, which we do challenge people and accompany people in facing fears and stuff.
That's good.
But more so than anything is just paying attention to what you need and not feeling guilty. Not feeling guilty what people are going to say and think, because you're going to receive more judgment if you're not feeling well. So what can you do to take control and ownership of your life, to design your life in such a way where things flow more, where they feel better, where they're not so tense and stressful? Mm-hmm. And it's an accumulation of small actions and small changes that add up.
Yes.
Like, Develop Your Element is not about making one big change and then all of a sudden your life is fixed. No, it's a set of tools and concepts that you can utilize and take into consideration in any area of your life to design a life that works better for you. And if you're a parent, if you're a boss, if you're responsible for other people, you will also be able to understand them better and help them feel better. Design spaces that work better for them.
Exactly. And what happens if you get people who want to change, like the big change? Like, I want to change my job, but I don't know what to do. I'm scared. Like, how do you accompany them?
We help them face fears along the way with change. So we actually have a lot of exercises related to facing fears. We talk about fear of rejection, fear of failure, imposter syndrome. And
that's a big one.
Yeah, it's a huge one. And there are many things we can do to some degree desensitize ourselves to the fear. There are many things we can do in terms of planning. One thing we also do is we help people plan for the future. And we talk about this concept of interconnecting goals. So one thing we want to make sure is we don't want to help someone make a choice out of desperation that will create more problems in their life.
Okay.
So one thing that happens often is when we are at our limits, like you just described a situation where we might hate our jobs. We might be like, I want to get out of here. In those moments, we're prone to make stupid choices out of desperation. If we take a moment to recharge our battery using the previous tools of creating regenerative spaces or going to regenerative spaces to kind of help you bring your brain to a better space, to be ready for change and to do it in a positive way. If we take a moment to disconnect, breathe, recharge, and then on top of that, interconnect our goals. Interconnecting goals is the conscious choice to consider what is it that I would like to achieve in all areas of my life, and how can I make sure that almost every decision and every action I take helps me get closer to that. So what we encourage people to think of is, okay, let's say for you have some personal goals in terms of your health. Maybe you have some goals in terms of your fitness. Maybe you have some goals in terms of your relationships. Maybe you have some personal goals in terms of your mental health. Maybe you have some personal goals in terms of finances. Maybe you have some personal goals in terms of your career. How can you filter through all of that and make sure to create a plan where to attend to one area, you don't end up forgetting about other areas?
Yeah.
Because if you do something out of desperation, you might fix one problem, but creating 50 more. One thing we talk about is how our energy is very important. And let's say you have energy leaks, and maybe your job is a big energy leak and you want to change your job. So you might patch that energy leak. Great. Okay, you patched that leak. Now you can keep more of the energy. But let's say to patch that energy leak, maybe you rushed it and you created some social problems, and maybe you created some enemies, and maybe you created more financial stress, and maybe you just did things where, okay, you patched this leak, but you created a leak here, a leak here, a leak here, a leak here, a leak here. And then all of a sudden you're worse off because you acted from desperation, you didn't interconnect your goal, and you found a band-aid solution for something that just created more problems than it solved. So by interconnecting your goals, you can very simply take the time to make sure that you're consciously seeking to create benefits in all the areas of your life, and also consciously remembering not to forget your other goal in those moments. Because when you act like that, it's very easy to just be putting out fires, fixing immediate problems, and then not getting to your end goal.
Exactly. You forget what you want or what you want to do.
You forget who you are, what you want. You get off track. Many of us get off track when we reach burnout. And if we don't know how to ask for help, it's very easy to develop coping mechanisms of all sorts. Some of them, it's alcohol abuse, drug abuse, addictions, different kinds, video game addictions, shopping addictions. Like, we all find different coping mechanisms at times, but they don't really fill those voids. They don't really make us feel better in the long run. Mm-hmm. So it's wise to just take a minute and be mindful of, okay, there are things that are not working in my life. That's okay. We all have things we don't like. Okay, I want to change it. That's great. We can change it. But when we change it, let's make sure to change it in a way that is sustainable and that actually works for creating a more direct path or a more comfortable path to our end goal. Yeah. So I often talk about this concept of, you have your GPS, right? You want to get to your goal. Mm-hmm. If you're driving, let's say you're on a road trip and you want to get to a different city. Let's say there's traffic along the way. It recalculates. Let's say there's an accident on the way. It recalculates, but you're still on track.
Yes.
But with our lives, sometimes what happens is there's an accident, we give up. There's an accident, we get distracted and we use a coping mechanism and we get way off track and we forget about our end destination, and 6 months down the road, we feel like shit and we're like, why am I in this situation? Who am I? I'm not worthy, I'm terrible. And then it's like, oh, maybe I should have remembered to just recalculate my route instead of just
going off.
Yeah. And that happens a lot. So recalculating a route is great. And sometimes you want to change your destination, but do it consciously.
Exactly, consciously.
There's a difference between changing your destination because you're running away from something at a subconscious level and changing your destination because you're no longer as excited for that, or the context changed, your life changed, and now it's time for a change in a different direction. That's wonderful. You're allowed to change your mind as many times as you want. Life is long, life is rich, there's so many options. You don't want to go there? Don't go there. It's okay, but make it a conscious choice. Don't just be running away from it. And if you catch yourself running away from it, ask yourself, why am I running away? One thing that in developed development we do a little bit different than in other techniques and things is we challenge people to look at, why is this as stressful? Why does this not feel right? Why is this tough? Because sometimes things don't feel right, but it might be. And this is something that can be hard for people to grasp. Sometimes when something is scary for us, we want to sabotage ourselves. And that we have to be mindful of. So yes, there are going to be times where we're going to feel this isn't right, and I want to change my path. That's perfectly fine. But also remind yourself to ask the question, right now that this isn't feeling right, right now that this is feeling very tense and stressed, is this because I'm about to level up and I'm in the right place, but it's just intimidating and I'm feeling a little small and I'm feeling a little scared? Or does it feel that it's not right because really I forgot about who I am and I'm in a place where I am trying to please others, or where I am trying to force something that's not really working for me and it's time for me to change? And if you can come to a point where it's like, you know what? This isn't for me. I was doing this for this other person. I was doing this to fit in. I was doing this because I was too insecure to do what I really want to do. And maybe it's time for me to create a path with more confidence and one that will fulfill me more. Great. By all means, change your path. But just be mindful that sometimes you're on the right path. It feels a little scary. And then with the concepts of developed development, what we recommend is try to recharge, boost yourself up to be more ready for what's to come. Okay. Because sometimes when we're ambitious in life, there's going to be some failure. There's going to be a learning curve. We're going to make mistakes along the way. And that's okay. You can get up, you can dust yourself off, and you can keep going. You can learn something. You can grow from adversity. And sometimes in personal development, there's this idea that we have to live a perfect life and we have to be happy all the time and we have to be comfortable all the time. On the moment that things aren't happy-go-lucky, amazing, that's an emergency. No. We're human. Life is dynamic. Things can happen. Okay? That's fine. Just remember where you're going. Do your best to recharge yourself as often as possible so that you're never in those extended periods of burnout or stress or heightened anxiety. Try to interconnect your goals in such a way that you're always mindful of where you're going and why you're doing the things you're doing and how you can make sure that the things you're doing have a greater purpose than just that individual result. Because if you give every action do a greater purpose, you can do one thing and get 50 positive results instead of just one. By just being mindful, how can this contribute to all the areas of my life?
Yeah.
How can this action contribute to all the areas of my life? So right now, we've just moved to Spain. Many different things have happened. Many things have inspired us to change, but it was greatly accelerated because my dad recently was diagnosed with cancer, and we want to be closer to him. Right? And he lives in Denmark. So when it came down to thinking of how can I interconnect my goals to make sure that my personal relationships, my romantic relationship with my partner, my business, my relationship with my dad, relationship with my sister, with my mother, with my extended family, my finances. Basically, like, how can I make sure that I plan things in such a way that all my interpersonal relationships can benefit to some degree from my choices?
Yeah.
How can I make sure that my finances and my mental state can benefit? My mental health is important too. So I started analyzing a bunch of things as an individual and as a team and as a family, consulting with several other people, their opinions, their desires. And I went up with everyone in my family and all my close friends, and I was like, in this next chapter, what are your priorities? What would you like to achieve? What's important for you? What do you need? How can I help you reach your goals? What is really something that you're longing to achieve or see in your life, right? And I went up with several people and really asked them their priorities. And then I looked inward and I asked myself, what changes do I want to see? What is important for me right now? What do I need in this next chapter?
Yeah.
And I took it, like, it was a conscious choice. It wasn't reacting to some family member saying this or asking this or criticizing this. No, I have kind of gone through the motions. And then what I did is I created a plan around everyone's goals, priorities, needs, where that we all can win, creating win-win situations. And now, like, we were just talking about this off camera before this interview, how happy we're to be in this situation, even though it's very different from what we anticipated. We have faced a lot of adversity and a lot of challenges and unfortunate news and stuff that have inspired us to some degree to create or accelerate this change. But at the end of the day, we're very proud of how, as a family, how as a team, we have made changes that have been mindful of everyone's goals, priorities, and needs. It has not been perfect. We've had our challenges. We've had our headaches. Any move is difficult. But at the end of the day, even when surprises have arisen, even when things have gotten hard, we have, to some degree, just been able to laugh it off and feel at peace with it, because we know we're on the right track and that we took the time to plan something properly that ultimately will give everyone around us certain level of benefits or certain improvements in their lives. And sometimes it's a lot of changes and a lot of pieces you have to be doing, and you don't do them alone. But the more you take the time to really design your life and take ownership of your life, and also support your friends and loved ones, not at the expense of yourself, not cutting yourself into pieces, but really supporting them as a pillar in their lives, life suddenly can become much easier and much more enjoyable, even when things aren't perfect. And development is really just a set of tools to help you make better choices and reduce all those energy leaks and sources of stress that have come from poor planning or impulsive decision making.
Yeah.
And really it helps bring out the best in yourself and others and build strong, positive relationships where everyone is truly in their essence. Everyone is themselves, but their best selves.
That is so beautiful. Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm getting the feeling also that what you do in Develop Your Element is to find who you truly are.
Yes.
And also maybe even find your purpose.
Yeah.
Work towards that.
Yes. Yeah. We actually help people filter out all the noise of their personal projects and goals and really find, to some degree, what their purpose is. I don't believe that you only have one purpose.
Exactly.
But I do believe a lot of people, due to fears, anxieties, and social pressures, lose track of really what is the ideal path for them or the ideal options for them. And what we try to do is we filter out, we have some very nice exercises where we evaluate what's the importance of each project, what's the amount of joy you're getting from it, the fun you're getting of it, how hard is it, how far have you advanced in it. Like, we really try to filter through all the different things you're doing in your life and try to figure out which of them really aren't a priority for you and you've just started doing to please others. Which of them are you doing, but you're doing them in such a way that's stressing you out instead of being a pleasure to do. Exactly. And maybe changing up your strategy and lightening up the mood or organizing it better or differently, or maybe removing some level of organization and making it like just changing your strategy or your relationship with that project might help unlock it. And maybe there's a project there that's super important, but it's stuck. And maybe it's stuck because you have a fear and anxiety. And maybe you need to ask for help. Maybe you need to learn something. Maybe you need to study something. Maybe you need to make it more of a conscious priority and dedicate more time to it. There are many things that you can change to get back on track. But yes, we definitely help people to some degree find their purpose. But more so than that, we help them get back on track and on a path that's more fulfilling. I think fulfillment is a good word. Like, yes, finding your purpose through fulfillment, I think would be the ideal way to describe it. Yeah.
I love that. I really love that. And who works with you? Because Jannik is the brother of Itzel. We also have an interview with her.
Yeah.
And the son of Berenice, that we've also spoken about her. Are they part of the team?
Yes.
How is it all constructed?
Okay, so they have been working personal development our whole lives, basically. It's been like a passion project for them for many reasons. My sister in her interview, you guys will hear, she's suffered from epilepsy, anxiety, agoraphobia, all kinds of chronic situations that have been very difficult, like fibromyalgia, like all kinds of stuff, right? So she has had a lot of social challenges, emotional challenges. And our whole lives, we've had a hard time understanding and supporting her because her needs have been so different from ours.
Of course.
And her instincts and her reactions to things. And she's just very, very different from us. And my mom and I, we share a little bit more context in terms of our personalities, a little bit more similar. Our way of thinking and our way of reacting to things is more similar. My sister, she contrasts us a bit more. So we studied and researched and developed a lot of things to kind of help her out. And then later I started a business with a very extroverted and a very introverted business partner from different sides of the world with very different ways of doing things. And it was just a big challenge collaborating with so big differences. So Develop Development was kind of built not to be a personal development system. That came later. It was built based on a foundation that within our family, we researched things to help my sister and build a better relationship with my sister. But on top of that, in my personal life, in my business life, it also was born out of trying to create a system to improve communication on the team and really resolve a lot of energy leaks on the day-to-day in my previous business.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of research and development that was born out of personal need, never built with the purpose of sharing it with the world. And it wasn't until I started seeing both huge positive changes in my relationship with my sister and huge positive changes in my relationship with my teammates,
Mm-hmm.
as well as a huge improvement to my personal relationship with myself,
Wow.
that I decided maybe I should share this with the world.
Okay.
And I will admit, I've had a lot of imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a psychologist. I have failed more in life than I have succeeded. I have made many mistakes in life. So I was like, how can I put myself on a stage or in front of a class and talk about these concepts? And I was like, this is crazy. But one thing I realized is the market is saturated with personal development things. It's saturated with personal development things that talk about personality types and psychology and things like that. But I had not found a single system that talks specifically about the things we talk about in the way we do it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of personal development stuff is based on older information, like personality type stuff. I mean, it started in ancient Greece with Hippocrates, and a lot of it is based on Carl Jung stuff, and that's very good stuff, and to this day, very, very relevant. But for the average person, the solutions and the options for personality type related personal development stuff, most of them are too limiting when they put you in a profile, and most of them are also based on older concepts. And we have a lot of new information that has been talked about in the academic world, and a lot of new research and a lot of new studies that have been very interesting. So to wrap this back, to answer your question, who do I work with and how does that work? I work with both my family, with my mom and sister, with whom I've developed a lot of this with, and I work with a lot of friends within my world of business, with whom I've started businesses, with whom I've run businesses. And it has both kind of that human, family, personal element and that entrepreneurial business element to it. Because these tools were developed both for personal and professional growth and to fix problems both personally and on the business side. So on the team, we have several different people of all walks of life all over the world. We have instructors in several different countries and who speak several different languages. And basically, without planning on it, this became a personal development system where people give classes of this. I was not planning on it. I didn't want to do it initially because I've seen a lot of drama and conflicts in other systems with the way that is handled that creates unhealthy competition and whatever. But
right,
I couldn't be on tour before the pandemic in all the different countries to meet the demand of all the people when we were really doing this full time on tour.
Okay.
And there came a point where I realized, well, I need to find a way to share this with more people and scale it, right? And pre-pandemic, we started getting these requests of like, I want to be an instructor. I want to work with this in my country, in my where I live, and things like that.
Yeah.
And then, after some hesitance and a lot of planning and trying to figure out how can we create a system that has instructors so we can maintain a certain integrity, quality control, ethics, kindness, and such, and create a business model that's sustainable where we don't saturate the markets with so many instructors that they're fighting for the same markets. Like, there's so many questions that came into my mind when doing that. But ultimately, we decided we're not going to be able to do it perfectly. We're going to make mistakes along the way, but we have to make a choice. And do we want to help people share these tools with the world? And the answer at the end was yes. So despite my imposter syndrome of doing this, despite my concerns of sharing these tools with new instructors at the risk of corrupting the tools over time, the mission was more important than my fears. And one of the things we talk about in Develop Human it's not about eliminating fears. Like, yes, there's some fears that are irrational we can eliminate, but it's ultimately about making your goals more important than your fears. Because fears are part of life, and that's okay. They're there to save our life at times. It's the reason why we don't cross the street when there are a bunch of cars coming. Like, it's okay. But so I decided one day that let's open this up. So we started opening it up, and we started little by little taking baby steps towards having multiple instructors. And now I'm happy to say that we do have instructors in several different languages in different countries, giving classes of this stuff. And it's been beautiful. It's mostly been positive experiences. It's mostly been really heartwarming to see people's reception of the tools, people taking ownership of the tools and sharing them and helping their families and their friends and their clients. And yeah, now it's a mix of many different people we work with. So it sounded like a simple question, and I know I went a little off track trying to answer the question, but ultimately we worked with many different types of people.
So is that how you present it through classes? People who maybe want to say, "Hey, I want to teach this. I love it," or "I want to receive classes." But do you also do maybe one-on-one sessions, or how is the setup? Online, in person?
We do it all.
You do it all. That's wonderful.
We do it all because people learn differently. People have different needs, and ultimately, these tools are a service. Like at the end of the day, this is a service that we offer. This is information that we offer. This is stuff we want to share. And we understand that people are going to be in different situations. So we have classes that are short, classes that are long. And we have lives, we have podcasts, we have YouTube videos, we have TikTok videos. We have one-on-one private sessions. We have honestly a mix of all kinds of solutions for different and obviously we're trying to streamline it, and we're going to be coming out with digital courses as well. We are coming out with books. We're coming out with more material in many different ways to digest information, no matter your circumstance, situation, and preference. So yeah, a bit of everything.
That's so good. And how can people, for example, if somebody's in, like you said, Japan, and they want to take a course of this with a facilitator?
Yeah, so we actually have a Japanese Facebook page because we have instructors in Japan. It's actually the first place we gave classes of this.
And a success, I hear.
Yes, we can thank Japan for this growing into a global thing.
Wow.
Because it started as an experiment. My sister was living in Japan at the time, and my sister and mom had been giving some classes there of other techniques and things. And they had an established base of fans there. And one day I was like, I have this thing I've been working on, and I would like to try to give a class there in Japan. And I would like to give it with you guys and develop this a little bit further with you guys. So I showed up in Japan, we gave some classes, and there was enough demand for us to be invited back. One of the people that was in the very, very first class that I gave is an instructor today, many years later. And like, you also have to account for the fact that there was a lot of personal growth that went into this, a lot of finding a way and developing this further. But it does feel good to know that there's a person that was in the very first class ever that years later is still with us. Before Develop Beyond grew to what it is today, before it matured a bit. Like, it's a continuous development, but all the time we're adding new tools and concepts and updating it and refining it and improving the content and the material. And obviously, in the beginning, it was going to be rougher than it is today. But we created a good enough experience from day one that we have people from day one with us today. I don't know how many years, 6 years later. I don't know how many years.
Yes.
But definitely a decent amount of years later. So that feels feels very nice.
And have they told you like how their life changed after?
Oh, a million times over.
Wow.
A lot of people with these tools have been able to unlock stuff that they already had inside and make peace with things that they had suppressed or hidden away or run away from. And I've also improved the relationship with relatives that are very different, where they felt that there wasn't enough love and acceptance, but really it was just different ways of being. Yeah. Like one thing that we have to understand is we all express love and affection differently. And that relative that you might think is very annoying and very critical and very negative and whatever, that might be a relative that actually loves you a lot and they're taking the time to give you their advice and their opinion. And it might not always be delivered in the best way, but it might actually be with good intentions and their way of showing love. And actually one thing that we teach in Develop Element is how to understand and receive love, affection, and support from other types of people who communicate it differently. That might not do it with a hug, might not do it with a compliment, might not do it with hard emotions or love letters or whatever it is that one might be seeking in a moment of feeling insignificant or feeling alone or whatever. And helping people just see all the love that is around them, all the support that is around them, however imperfect or different that it may be, just recognizing and receiving that and changing our relationship with those contrasting ways of communication. And we have helped save marriages. We've helped people really find their value in life. Like we've had individuals that have been so lost in their lives and literally suicidal, and where they've reached that point of not even wanting to live again. Because they felt so different, so misunderstood, such a burden. You know, a lot of people that suffer from anxiety and depression feel like a burden in this world. And we've helped people stop feeling like a burden, start to recognize the value, start to understand the differences, start receiving and processing some of the things that are going on around them, seeing it with a different light. And we've helped some of those people all of a sudden turn from being in a suicidal state to being happy and at peace with who they are, and being super grateful for the opportunity to get to know themselves better and get to know their loved ones better. So it's been wonderful because that gives us that little reassurance when that self-doubt comes in, because obviously talking about personal development and mental health stuff, there's a huge responsibility associated with it. There's a stigma associated with it. There's a lot of judgments associated with it, and in terms of qualifications and things like that. And I have never claimed to be a psychologist or a medical doctor or anything like that. But I have just realized that through my own personal need and through the needs of my extended circle, I've put a lot of work into researching and developing a set of tools and information that can help people live a happier life, a better life. And we've seen mostly positive feedback from it, mostly people really at a very efficient rate feel better. Because many times people, they just need to be recognized for who they are and need to make peace with them being different from their family and understanding there's nothing wrong with you if you're different. But yes, the differences, if not handled well, can be a source of a lot of friction. But if you know how to manage your personality, your emotions, your mindset, and you know how to process and deal with other people's different contexts, you can build bridges. You can have empathy, you can have patience, you can demonstrate generosity, and you can connect and rebuild your relationships with different expectations, different terms. Yeah, you might have to disappoint sometimes, you might have to set certain limits sometimes, but the more consciously you're aware of everyone's needs, everyone's instincts, and just what's most genuinely true for each individual, the easier it is to build actual, genuine relationships that are real.
They're real, exactly.
That aren't based on a lie or based on keeping up appearances or based on trying to fit in or based on trying to please others. Because that, sadly, in many families, in many cultures, in many corporate environments, is the standard of trying to fit in, trying to adapt, trying to be something we're not.
Exactly. Yeah.
And where's the fun in that?
No fun at all. Okay, it seems like a very nice model, to be honest. And well, as you know, the channel is called We Are Infinite, and I think it's very aligned to the work that you do. So can you give like a last final message? Bear in mind the work that you do, We Are Infinite, for our viewers.
It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to feel fear and anxiety. It's okay to sometimes be scared or feel insignificant. I think it's okay to be imperfect. I think it's okay to do things halfway and fail at it and get back up and try again. I think it's okay to say no sometimes. I think it's okay to put limits sometimes. I think it's okay to listen to your needs when you're being told you're being selfish. And at the end of the day, recognizing that the things you feel bad and guilty about today, they're not as bad as they seem in the moment. And if you can recognize that you're worthy of love, you're worthy of receiving, you're worthy of giving yourself the time and priority to go through your own journey the way you need to in your rhythm, and that not only is a gift to you, but a gift to everyone else, even if the people around you can't see it in the moment. If you can recognize the value in that, you can set yourself up for way more success and happiness. And I invite you to ask yourself, what is it that I need more of in my life? What is it that I need less of in my life? What changes can I make that align more with who I want to be and where I want to be my best self? And be willing to let people down in the process, because the people that truly care about you will eventually turn around, and they might be right now in a state where they don't understand your journey. They might think you're crazy. They might think you are being selfish or that you have changed too much. But when they truly see you're happier in the long run, when they truly see your change, they will go from criticizing you to telling you, wow, I can't believe it. I want what you had. I want to learn from you. And they're going to go from being your biggest critics to being your biggest fans, or maybe not your biggest fans. Maybe they just want some of that, success, money, happiness. And they'll be like, they might even start charging you and be like, I supported you doing this. Where's my piece of the pie? Just take that as a compliment, as annoying as it might be in the moment. And it's okay that in your journey, you're going to have moments where you fall, where you take steps backwards, where you feel in the wrong place. Life is dynamic. Life is full of surprises. If life were the same every day, we would be bored to death. So, when things get difficult, try your best not to lose your cool, but if you do, don't punish yourself. Ask for help. In fact, asking for help is a compliment. It's actually a source of kindness and generosity, because you're letting people in and you're being vulnerable and admitting that maybe it's better for you to not do that thing alone. And it doesn't make you any less strong. On the contrary, it shows your true confidence. Asking for help is valuable. So ask for help. Broaden your support network. Let people in. Be vulnerable. Set limits. And go through life on your own terms. Don't forgetting about others. Not necessarily leaving some behind, which some yes, some no. But just Be present in what you need to be your best self, and the right people will surround you. And don't cry over the people or the situations you will lose. Instead, recognize that the more you become the best you, the more you will attract the right people and will be able to maintain the right people by your side. Yeah, it's a little long, but yeah, I had a lot to say.
That's it. Thank you. My goodness. Thank you, Jannik. This has been incredible. And that is such a powerful measure.
The truth is, there's not just one thing you can say to everyone. Because it sounds like a simple question, but we all live different contexts. We all have different needs. But I think one thing that's universal is that life doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything the right way. And it's okay to take steps backwards and then try to catapult yourself forward and turn it around and turn it into a good experience after it's been a traumatizing one, maybe. Mm. You can turn things around. It's never too late to reinvent yourself. It's never too late to change what you want to change. It's never too late to learn something new. It's never too late to build new relationships. It's never too late for the change that you're seeking. It's never the perfect time either. Now is the perfect time. It doesn't matter what's going on around you. The moment you're ready, the world will adapt to you.
Yes.
Maybe not at the rate you want, but you'll get there eventually.
You'll get there, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. This has been incredible, Jannik. I'll put all your links and everything in the description for people to follow you and follow the work that you do.
For sure.
And all of you do and develop your element.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Me too. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.